Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome, scholars. So happy to see you, or your names anyway. Hi, Elijah. Hi, Julia. It's good to see everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're gonna give just a minute or so. Hey, Elena, for you guys to get logged in. I think we got a couple more coming, but we will get started on time because I do value your time. Hey, Julia. Welcome and thank you guys for joining us. I'm Dr. Avis Williams. I'm the proud superintendent for NOLA Public Schools, and this is a ABC meeting. And ABC is Dr. Avis's beignets and conversation. And because it's virtual, it's BYOB, which means bring your own beignets. So hopefully you guys either have one or have had one. I'm sure I'm not the only person who loves beignets. But we're going to dive right in. I'm going to share with you all some information from my 100-day plan, which is just the entry plan that I've used to really create a foundation for the work. So I'll be sharing that, and you'll have lots of opportunities to engage and to share information about you or to ask questions. So, but for starters, I would love for you all to go ahead and throw in the chat box your name, your grade, and the school that you attend. If you could go ahead and throw that in the chat box for us, that would be lovely. And you can submit questions at any time during this, and you don't have to wait until I pause. So you can throw that in the chat box as well. We have a Padlet and a Jamboard that you'll be able to use to respond to questions. And those will be links in the chat as well. I do ask that you remain muted for now, and thank you all for being muted for now, but there will be opportunities where I want you to come unmuted and to share your thoughts. So let's rock and roll. All right, so to begin with, my 100-day plan, it is aligned with our Board of Education. And you guys may have heard of the Orleans Parish School Board, which governs our school district. They are the governing body, and some of their priorities are listed here to include civically engaged scholars. So really wanting you guys to be engaged with your community and to understand your role as a citizen of not only our community, but of our nation. Strengthen operational infrastructure, really looking at how we operate as a district and doing so in an equitable way. Scholar partnerships so that we can expand mental health services and other opportunities and needs that you all may have. And then of course, collaborative communities. And that's just where we're making sure that we're working closely with other organizations in an equitable way as we move forward to ensure that you all are getting what you need to be successful. Next slide, Christopher. There we go. All right. So throughout the plan and throughout our presentation, there are some key questions. And like I mentioned before, there are going to be times where I'm going to ask you guys to come off mute and go ahead and address some of the key questions. So some of them are listed here. The ones in red that you'll see are the ones that are really specific to you all as our scholars. And I'll tell you, as far as I'm concerned, you're my biggest priority. And when I think about stakeholders, you guys are number one, because everything that we do is built around ensuring that you all have a positive experience at school and that we're preparing you to be successful in life beyond high school. So these are just a few questions that I've asked community members. We're over halfway of the ABC tours. I stated I would do about 20, and I think we've probably done at least 15 or 16 so far, and we'll end up doing more than 20. And so I've asked these questions at those previous meetings. So first, how do we ensure that every family has access to high quality schools? That's a big one for a lot of people in our community. What do we need to stop, start, or continue? And that's a great way to just find out about what people like about our school system. What do you think we need to keep doing, or or stop doing? What are some things that maybe are antiquated? Maybe they don't fit your needs that we have been doing and we need to stop. And then there's always opportunities to learn and do some new things that we would need to start. How do we make our enrollment system more effective? That's been a very popular topic when we think about our enrollment system and making sure that all families are able to access not only the system, but the high quality schools. And then, of course, what are the biggest challenges facing NOLA PS scholars? So I want to pause right here before we go any further. I'm not going to do the stop, start, or continue until the very end. But if you all could just use the chat box and tell me some of the biggest challenges that you face as scholars and as young people in our community. If you would just share a little bit about what that is. And I may, as we move forward, ask someone to say a little bit more about that. So I'm gonna pause for just a moment, and you do have a place to leave your feedback. If you want to, you can pop it in the chat box, and that is great. And then you can also go to the Padlet to leave additional feedback that we'll be able to capture along with feedback that we've gotten from other people in our community. So I'm gonna give you guys just a moment to think about the biggest challenges that you're facing as NOLA PS scholars. And it doesn't have to be just school related, because I get it. I mean, you guys are whole people, right? You go to school for a period of time, obviously, but that's not all that you do. You live in our community, and many of you work in our community. And we certainly want to make sure that your whole experience is one of quality and one that helps you prepare for your life beyond high school. So if you would, again, what are your biggest challenges facing that you face as one of our scholars? So I'm going to go on to the next slide. How are we incorporating NOLA PS scholar voices into our work? And I'm going to share some things that we are going to do moving forward that will give you guys an opportunity to engage. If you want to participate in advisory groups, if you are interested in technology, we're going to have a team, tech team or junior communicators team that we're forming, and other opportunities that we're interested in. But I absolutely want to hear from you to know more about what you want to do and how we can better make sure that your voices are lifted up. And then other questions that I've asked are about the best things about our district. What are the best things that we do to support teachers and staff? But then also, how do we hold ourselves more accountable? How do we make our school district more family friendly? I'm a big believer that we have to have positive customer service, and that our district should be built around the idea that families are engaged and valued, and that we are family friendly in our processes that we are pushing out through the community. How can we optimize our district while also creating community schools? And optimization is about right sizing. Right now we have a population that is just not having as many school-age children as there once were. And so it means that we've got a lot of extra seats, and optimizing means that we're looking at a better way to fill our schools. And even if it means that we have to take some seats offline as we create better opportunities for all of our scholars and families. You can go to the next slide. So my 100-day plan is based on my core values, which are equity, excellence, and joy. Now, for me, equity is about being intentional as we eliminate opportunity gaps and barriers, but also making sure that you all have access to a high quality education. And again, access to the resources, the tools that you need to be successful beyond high school. And some of the ways that I want to ensure that we have equity is by conducting these meetings. I've done a handful that are virtual, have done many that are in person throughout the entire community, and making sure that it hits every single community. We have an executive director of equity and strategic planning, and she is working with us to review our policies and to make sure that they lend themselves to creating equitable opportunities for not only our scholars, but also our team members. Implement NOLA Cares, and Cares is our community access to resources and equity. And it's all about mental health and wellness, and making sure that we are prioritizing self-care. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because I do want to hear from you all about what's happening in terms of your mental health and wellness. We also want to collect and interrogate multiple data points so that we can ensure that we are identifying achievement and opportunity gaps, and especially those that disproportionately impact our children of color. I want to lift those up and look for root causes and determine how we can better support our single site schools. We have a handful of networks that have multiple schools, but then we also have quite a few single site schools, and we want to ensure that those schools have the supports and resources that they need, and especially those schools that are operated and led by people of color, because there is a body of research that gives us some great information about the supports that oftentimes single sites don't have that they need. And the same can be said for schools that are led by people of color, just making sure that we are being intentional about removing barriers. Next is excellence. We have high expectations of ourselves and expect to be held accountable to produce exemplary outcomes for you all, for our scholars. And we do that by making sure that we have a charter school accountability framework that is comprehensive in terms of how we view academics. So it's not just a letter grade, as we move forward. We'll make sure that we're looking at the learning environment and culture and climate and your experience as a student in terms of how we look at school quality, and especially that academic piece. Establish district-wide opportunities to collaborate. And this is all about professional learning. And you may hear teachers and others oftentimes talk about being lifelong learners. And that bullet is really about holding true to that, learning together and growing together. Convene school leaders, teachers, students, and others in advisories, and providing so that you all can provide that two-way communication and feedback. And so I'm going to pause right here for a bit and talk about student advisories. And I would actually like if you want to weigh in on this, if you want to come off mute. So I want to form a student advisory council that will focus on wellness for our scholars. And when I say wellness, I'm talking about holistic. So mental, physical wellness, self-care, and just you being equipped physically and emotionally and mentally to be able to do what you need to do as a scholar and to be successful. And we are also looking at having junior communicators, like a teen tech team. And so I'd really love to hear from you guys as to what you think about those two areas being prioritized for student advisories. And if you think it would be useful, and if not, what would be, and just to be able to tell us a little bit more about that. So can someone please come off mute and just share your thoughts about that?
Hi, I can. I'm Amari Ann from Frederick A. Douglass High School. I'm a junior. So a couple of years ago, maybe I think 2, I was on the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council. Yeah. And I think that youth advisory councils are definitely very helpful and very effective. You just have to make sure that you stay informed with your youth advisory council, because sometimes that gets a little shaky, and you are not actually getting to hear from you directly are not getting to hear from your council. But yeah, I definitely think they're very helpful.
Okay, I appreciate you lifting that up. And I know that I've talked to several scholars who have been involved in advisory councils with the city. And I definitely agree with what Amari said as far as the communication piece, because it can become like a machine and you can lose sight of the purpose if you're not very intentional about how you communicate and about how often we communicate and that sort of thing. And I'm also a big believer in making sure that if I'm listening to you, I'm listening intently and with the purpose of turning it around support, for action. So in other words, not just being a listening ear, yeah, that's good, but actually listening in such a way that we're problem solving together, right? That we're doing something actionable together, and that takes a lot of intentionality and making sure that we stay focused on whatever it is that we're seeking to achieve. So I appreciate that. Would anybody else like to weigh in on the idea of student advisories? What do you guys think about having a junior tech team or junior communicators? My thoughts are, y'all probably know a little bit more about social media and TikToking and whatnot than we do. And, I would love for you all to lead some of what we're doing in terms of social media. I would love for our scholars to lead engaging with other scholars from other schools, or sharing information with scholars from other schools, or with the community at large. What do you guys think about that? And do you think that would be of value to you as a member, and or to our community as a whole?
Hi, my name is Elijah, and I just wanted to say that I agree with Amari, and I think that the student perspective would be really beneficial in like allowing change to happen. And I really think that the student advisory would be very beneficial. And I think that also the social media aspect would be like really cool, because I know that like most people in my generation like love doing like social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so like students doing that and like helping like spread the word about certain things would be like
Yeah.
really cool.
Okay, thank you, Elijah. I appreciate that, because that's exactly what I was thinking too, Elijah. And I definitely think that you all need to use your voice. I mean, I'm so impressed with our scholars. Any school that I visit, I leave just overwhelmed, impressed with what you all have to say and what you're doing and your thoughts. And we need to hear that. I need to hear that in order for us to really know that we're making the mark in meeting your specific needs. And thank you. Is it Nibi? I don't want to mess your name up, baby. Okay, yeah, that was great. I love what you just said, and some scholars might be intimidated talking to administrators, and they might be more comfortable working directly with their peers. I agree, and that would be one of the purposes too, is to give you that space to be able to do that. The junior tech team would help make students more aware of local resources. Absolutely. Increase direct awareness and communication between the scholars and the school board. I love it. I love it, Tyler. I completely agree. And thank you for sharing that. Okay, well, you all will be hearing more about that because we are going to push out information in the next week or so. We've already identified October 25th as the initial meeting, and it will be an in-person meeting, but you'll be hearing more. Please pay attention to our social media, and we'll make sure that information is available at your schools also. And then the last part of the excellence piece, I established a transition team, and we're making sure that team is working to review our current strategic plan and reimagine our current strategic plan. So that's all about excellence. And then finally, my third core value is joy. And for me, joy is all about being a true believer in the work that we're doing, but also enthusiastically celebrating the successes that we have. We have a lot of challenges in our community and within our schools. But one thing that I always say is it's not all gloom and doom, right? We do have great things happening. And you guys are just a spark of joy for me, as I stated before, every school that I visit. And so want to make sure that we're lifting up the positives, even as we problem solve for things that might need to improve. And so I'm making sure that we establish and enhance our district recognitions and celebrations so that our team members feel valued, and conducting culture and climate surveys, or using existing data so that we can determine how to improve working conditions for our team members and enhance learning experiences for you as our scholars. And then another piece of this is partnering with NORD, our recreation department for the city, and other entities like the public library, to ensure that we can create entities that are safe and equitable for you all to access sports and recreation, even after school or weekend learning. And I did see that someone put in the box when we talked about challenges. Someone put violence, and that's real. So this particular piece is about joy, because it's about making sure that you all are safe as you're engaging in sports, recreation, learning, play, or just whatever it is that you want to do when you're not in school. So after school, weekends, and that sort of thing. We want to increase the opportunities for you all to be able to do that. All right, so I want to really pause here for just a moment. So I want you guys to be thinking about mental health and wellness while I'm talking, because I'm going to open up the floor again to hear from you. But NOLA Cares, again, is our community access to resources and equity. And one thing that has been in place for some time now is a stigma around mental health, and especially in the Black community, where people don't want to admit that they need help. They can have diabetes and go get their blood sugar checked. They can have arthritis and they'll take medicine for that. As a scholar, if you sprain your ankle at a ball game or walking down the stairs, you're going to go to get that taken care of, right? And for some reason in our community, we just don't see mental health the same way. And it's been stigmatized as such a negative way. And one goal that we have for NOLA Cares is to try to remove that stigma and make it so that people understand that, first of all, it's okay not to be okay. And that when we think about mental health and wellness, we need to look at it in the same way that we would look at any physical ailment that might need some additional support from a professional. And there is nothing wrong with needing some support from a professional when it's something that's taking place that's emotional or mental health related. And that's whether you're talking about because of trauma that's been experienced, or just things just aren't going right for you. I mean, depression, anxiety is real, and PTSD is real. If you've experienced any violence directly or indirectly, then you could have post-traumatic stress disorder from that. If you're caring for a younger sibling who's going through health or other related issues, then you can even have secondary traumatic stress disorder, even if it's not directly happening to you. So I would like for you guys to come off mute and let's talk about healthcare, mental health care and wellness. There's a stigma, and I get that. But what do you all need as far as mental health and wellness? And do you see this as a good place, a good topic for me to spend time on working in our community and with our schools? So, and you can weigh in. I just said a whole bunch of stuff, but based on all of that, what are your thoughts on mental health, wellness, trauma, self-care, and all of that?
Hi, it's me. You go.
No, you go, Elijah. Sorry.
Well, I just wanted to say that I really like the comparison that you made of mental health to physical health, because I feel like a lot of people underestimate just how important mental health is.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be the founder of the Mental Health Awareness Club at my school this year.
Oh, Elijah, you've got to invite us out.
Yeah, okay, bet. I got you.
Yeah.
And so like I've created the club because it's like such a topic that needs to like be destigmatized.
Yep.
There's just so much like that goes into mental health, and addressing those problems and like also donating to like organizations would be like so beneficial in general. So I definitely think that mental health is something that you should be like working on and stuff, because a lot of kids deal with that, especially given the fact that NOLA is like a murder capital, for lack of better words.
I mean, it's sad but true. You're absolutely right.
So yeah, I think mental health is like really good and something that needs to be addressed.
Okay, and thank you for that, Elijah. And I can't wait to hear more about what you're doing at your school. That's awesome. Julia.
Hello, I'm Julia. And just adding on to what Elijah said, I do think that mental health is definitely something that should be more prioritized among a lot of students. Like, I know a lot of students just kind of downplay things when they're really feeling stressed with the workload that they have at school.
Absolutely.
And I think that sometimes these problems just sort of build up and you don't really realize how much of a weight, all of this work is putting on you. Yeah. And I also just think making those resources known is a great thing to have as well, which I mean, it seems like you're trying to do. And I think that's a great thing, because for the longest at my school, I didn't even know that we had an actual social worker present
Yeah.
on campus until like last year when I
Mhm.
had gone there, just to work out some stuff. But
Right,
yeah,
gotcha.
just making those resources known is definitely a top priority, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you're right. And that is where we started, just by learning more about what we have in our community. We have a lot of resources, but to your point, Julia, they just don't, it doesn't matter if they're not connected to people in need, right? And if you
Yeah.
don't understand or know how to access the resources, or if you don't have access to the resources, then it's not going to be as supportive as we would want it to be. So I definitely appreciate you lifting that up. And I see Amari made a comment as well. It definitely needs to be a priority. We know that in our community, many young people of your age are acting out because they don't have the support to cope with poverty, trauma, school, social media, and all of that. You're spot on. That is so true. Because it's hard. It's hard being a young person in our society today. You guys have so many pressures on you. And I'm a firm believer that social media does not help any, because everything is so publicized sometimes. And I know that makes it even more challenging. Yeah, I see a lot of folks saying great idea. So appreciate that feedback. What else do we have? Anybody else want to come off mute and talk about it?
Yes, hi. My name is Amy. I
Hi,
go to
Amy.
Franklin High School. Hello. So at Franklin, we do have a lot of resources available to us. We have a pretty abundant number of guidance counselors and a social worker. I just think that I really, really do agree with the fact that mental health really needs to be made more aware. I
Yeah.
just feel like with resources, although we have resources available to us, I think what students really are concerned with is what we're getting out of our resources.
Yeah.
So it's more so we are talking to people and we are getting some feedback from our counselors, but the level of empathy that comes back and returns to us is also equally as important as making sure the resources are known. I have a specific counselor at my school who comes from the same background as I do, and we both are from immigrant families. So I felt that it was so much easier to talk about anything that I needed to talk about with him because he was really able to relate it back to where I'm standing. And so I feel like the resources themselves are very, very important, but also the people that we're able to connect with and the level of empathy that we're getting back, because I think that overall plays more into the mental health and the availability of resources.
I love everything you just said, Amy.
Thank you.
And I'm really glad that you lifted up empathy, because, even if it's not a therapist, someone who is an empathetic listener and who can really give you the space to be who you are and to support you through it, that goes a long way. And the empathy afterwards to help you move forward is something that would be extremely important. So thank you so much for lifting that up. This is a great conversation. I love it, love it, love it. Any other thoughts?
I just wanted to add on. So I also go to Franklin, and once we transition from once we transition from like 10th to 11th and 12th grade, we're given these new counselors whose sole purpose is to help us prepare for colleges. And now, like, a lot of us feel like we don't, like, a lot of us don't feel comfortable going to these counselors to tell them about our problems because we feel like their sole purpose is to just help us with colleges and help us with these applications and these deadlines. Whereas our 9th and 10th grade ones, we were very comfortable talking with them. And a lot of students do come back to these 9th and 10th grade counselors because we just feel more comfortable talking to them about these personal issues, which I feel like is a big problem if, like, these ones are supposed to be helping us aren't. And as a part of the student council, me and Tyler both were creating mental health days. So we would like bring back like a childhood recess or like days playing with puppies. And we're trying to bring back all these things. So like have days where students can just feel relaxed. And we want to try to like keep, obviously doing this, and we understand how problem it is. And yeah.
Yeah. That is awesome, Malachi. I'm glad you mentioned about the counselors too, because one of the things that we want to try to do with NOLA Cares is to provide additional counselors and support. And because what you said is absolutely true. I was a high school principal, and when I tell you my guidance counselors had 422 jobs, right? And they could not get it all done. And the scheduling piece and the college prep and, managing transcripts and all of that was such a major part of it that too often the actual counseling would take the back burner, and that's not okay. That's not okay. So one of the things that we want to do is to make sure that we have mental health personnel whose sole job is to make sure that they are able to counsel with you. Because even with our teachers, I know we've got some amazing teachers who would love to be able to spend more time, in consultation and counseling with scholars, but they're pulled in many directions too. And so one of our goals is to just be able to provide more personnel resources as well as just information, so that if it's not your guidance counselor, it's still somebody that you can develop a relationship with, because there's somebody that's there, but that will be able to dedicate the time that's necessary for the counseling that might be needed. So thank you for lifting that up, because that is an important piece of the high school experience. With what counselors do, obviously that is a very valued part of their job, a very important part of their job, but it should not take the place of the other things that you all need. And so we've got to make sure we come with personnel to help fill those gaps, but also to help develop those relationships so that it's still someone that you trust and want to actually have a counseling session with. So thank you for that. All right, this is so amazing. You guys don't know how much this is empowering me and inspiring me as we consider how we move forward. So thank you all for the comments and the input that you just shared. You can go on to the next slide, Christopher. And so the key question that we're talking about here is, what do we need to stop, start, or continue? And when you think about this question, I really want it to be from a holistic standpoint. So it's not aimed at any one thing in particular. Just when you think about your schooling, and you guys are more than halfway through, right? Some of you are at the end almost, and you've had a lot of experiences with schools. And we do not always get it right. I will go on and own that for all of us as educators. And we know that there are some things that you may need that we struggle with. And then there may be some things that you need that we're just unaware of. And so I'm going to stop sharing the screen here, and let's just dig deep into this a little bit. What do we need to stop, start, or continue? And so if you were to think about it this way, if you wanted to make this school system better, now you may be matriculating out and moving on to your best life after high school, but what would we need to stop, start, and continue to make this better for scholars who are coming up now and behind you guys?
Hi, it's me again.
Hey,
I think something that we definitely need to continue is the ability and the ability of administration to listen to students and just listen to the student population.
Yes.
Just knowing that, and also having a bit of a change in administration when not necessarily necessary, but if it's needed, kind of like how we had recently at the Willow School. Our CEO is now Miss Nicolette London. Mm-hmm. And I know that recently she's been really very good in just taking in the students' opinions. Yeah. And I mean, we were able to change the name from what it previously was known as Lusher to Willow School, just based on, students really speaking up for what they thought and what they believed was right. And I mean, now we're even looking at the dress code. So I think just really listening to students and having an administration who is willing to listen is a great thing to have, and something that should continue in all public schools here.
I love that. Yeah, you are spot on. Because I mentioned earlier that you all are top priority, and as my number one stakeholder, we have to listen to you. We need to listen to you more. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's not just about being a listening ear. It's about the action. Actually changing the name, actually addressing dress code, right? Because otherwise, what was the value of listening if you still don't see any results from it? So I appreciate you lifting that up. Other thoughts? Stop, start, or continue?
To kind of piggyback off of Julia, like the administration, I know that this year, because I'm student government president, I was like trying to get like clubs in order, if that makes sense. And a lot of teachers were talking to me about starting an Asian identity club. And because I'm not Asian, I was like, I feel like out of place trying to start that club. So my
Oh, is he frozen or am I frozen? Can I never tell? Okay. Oh, Elijah, come back. Well, hopefully he'll be able to come back and continue that, because I definitely think he was going somewhere that was.
Jason.
You froze for a second there, Elijah. Can you tell us more about, they wanted you to start a group, and you're not Asian, and then you kind of froze after that. So tell us more.
So I was just saying that, like, I feel like there needs to be more diversity in administration, because we weren't able to start the club because there was no Asian teacher. And so like diversity in the staff, like, is just so important and something that we really need to work on. And also, I did comment on I think it's called Padlet. And I basically just said that, I'm gonna read what I said. I said, implementing anti-bias training or teaching students what racism, specifically microaggressions, are would help change the culture at some schools. Acknowledging and being able to have conversations about hefty topics will allow students to learn and hear other perspectives. Not only are students targeted based on their race, but nowadays scholars are faced with prejudice based on their sexuality and socioeconomic status too. Addressing these problems would help improve learning conditions at school for students. So.
Wow, thank you for that. And there's never been a truer statement. I definitely completely agree with you. And I'm a big believer in anti-racism and making sure that we have structures in place that lend themselves to that, but it has to be an ongoing thing and it has to be real. So I really appreciate you lifting that up, because, we talked about mental health. I mean, that's another stressor, right? I mean, because if you don't have structures in place where you feel safe to be yourself, to bring your whole self into the classroom, right, into your school, to really have that brave space within your learning environment. If you don't have that, then that's absolutely an additional stressor, and we most definitely need to prioritize that. So I'm glad you put that on the Padlet, so we can make sure we include that with all of our notes and everything. Thank you. All right, I think we have time for more. Go ahead, Amy.
I just wanted to thank Elijah for like the little segment there about the Asian Identity Club, because we do have one at Franklin as well. And I really do agree with the diversity in administration. And I know a student at our school, Abigail, who is currently pushing to make it more widespread to have an Asian American Studies program, because we just started our first one here at Franklin this year. And so she's trying to like get it out there more. So I feel like having a diverse education as well as administration really helps push the equity aspect of that. And we also, for our Asian Pacific Club, do not have an Asian sponsor, but our teacher who does teach Asian American Studies was willing to step up to help sponsor a club after we've had a change. So I feel like having that resource is really a key to opening more opportunities with diversity.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because, another piece that can come out of this communication and collaboration is partnerships, because it would make perfect sense for your schools to partner in helping to establish this club. The last school district where I worked, we had one of our teachers wanted to start a club for LGBTQ scholars, and we didn't have one in our immediate area, but we ended up finding some opportunities for them to seek partnerships where they could learn how to get started with it, and learn some of the activities that were a part of it and that sort of thing. And I think this is another one of those great opportunities where, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, but by partnering, it can make it even stronger at both schools. So you guys should definitely talk about that. And I love the fact, and you don't have to be of that ethnic descent to be able to lead. You just have to be passionate about wanting to do it, right? And curious enough about what it looks like to learn more and to do more. And I'm just like all distracted because Julia, your doggy is so cute. Gotta love the fur babies on Zoom. Well, guys, this has been so amazing. Any other thoughts or questions before we close? All right. Well, I appreciate you all. I'm so grateful that you took the time to be here. This has been one of the most amazing things. I would ask for anyone, if you could come off, turn your cameras on. And Courtney, are you where you can do a screenshot of the of everybody? Do you have that on? Okay. I would love to get a picture. This is our group picture, y'all. So if you're able to come off, to turn your cameras on, to turn your video on, I would love to see you. Hey, Jayla. And let's get a great picture. And y'all, I'm the real Avis Williams, that guy. Well, we'll talk later.
Second Avis. All right.
The second Avis, right? Anybody else can come on, can bring their cameras out? If not, we'll go ahead and snap the picture. It's fine. Hey, Christy, there you are.
All right, everybody.
All right, here we go.
All right, everybody. Smile. Chins up. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Oh, looks good.
Trying to be like Elijah. You guys are amazing. I so appreciate you. Hope I get to meet you in person at some point soon. Look for more information about our advisory groups. And if you've got ideas of other stuff that we can do, please throw it on the Jamboard or the Padlet, because we will be checking that so that we can make sure that we're in line with what our needs are. So thank you all so much and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.